The Athene Real Talk Podcast explores controversial ideas to stimulate debate and active thinking. These ideas do not always reflect Athene's personal views. Welcome to the Athene Real Talk Podcast.
He has been called the best gamer in the world, hands down.
World-famous gamer and philanthropist Athene.
Gaming for Good, it's called, has raised more than $20 million.
Using his notoriety to raise money for charity.
On activism, science, culture, and self-development.
Proud to have him in the studio today. I would not want to take you on in a video game.
I'm always thinking and exploring how I can help. And I realized that a lot of the knowledge and insights that I reach to help you guys is from my own perspective. And as a result, a lot can be too advanced, can be too unrelatable or whatever. But the key is to find ways to help more people with knowledge or with speaking to them in a way that truly resonates with most people. The problem with that is that it's constantly a journey to figure out what works and what doesn't work. But at the same time, you can have a disconnect where people misinterpret what I'm trying to say. And what is quite important is to not use concepts to label yourself and to judge yourself. And me saying this should not become a concept that you use to label yourself, like, oh, I'm judging myself now, but I shouldn't be judging myself. So whenever I give advice, it's important to not make it as something that imposes you to think a certain way. It should not become a rule set. Because if you have a lack of confidence or a lack of self-trust or whatever, you try and find this confidence and this trust in concepts. And then if you really, look up to me, or you have this idea of like, oh yeah, Athene has achieved so much, then what I can say can very easily translate into some kind of rule set you're becoming attached to, while doing so misses the point, because it's merely tools for you so you can help yourself. Like, my goal with these talks is not to help you do what I want you to do, but rather to try and help you so you can help yourself. And the thing is that it's really different from person to person. Every single person has their own life experience. And I've already talked about this and I've already explained this in the past as well. If you go and visit a friend in another city and he's going with you to his favorite bar, then your friend will not assume from you how to get there. Obviously, because it's the first time you're in the city, you don't know the road, so how can you know where the pub is? But even though we assume this, when it comes down to personal experiences and the way we have gone through life, we actually assume that people know what we relate to and the concepts we know and the concepts we understand, and we assume that people just somehow magically know what you try to say, and when they don't, you judge them, you label them, or you feel frustrated or whatever. While the ability to understand, just as much as when your friend comes and visits you, that he doesn't know where the pub is because he's never walked to it, like just understanding that that's also something when it comes down to life can greatly help you to try and understand people from where they come from. And by walking their path, to put it that way, you can gain more understanding. But even that, it's a very hard awareness to acquire when you're trapped inside your own head. And why are you trapped inside your own head? It's because you experience a lack of confidence, a lack of trust, like a scarcity mindset. You don't feel truly safe with yourself. And that's why when you gain confidence, you start gaining more self-trust and you feel more safe with who you are, which then disables all these coping mechanisms and these attachments that gave you this ability to cope with the person you were and the awareness you were. And I don't know to which extent that traumatic experiences have a part in this full machinery, because I haven't had that many traumas myself. But I do know that when certain people have certain traumas, can be quite a big obstacle. To which extent they can overcome it, it's something that I don't know, because I need to talk to people about it. But at the same time, what I do understand is that every single person that is watching the stream right now, and even when I asked yesterday, what is it that you get confidence out? By being able to be aware how what you gain confidence out, whether it's understanding or what other people think of you or whatever, is there in abundance, can really create a boost of confidence and self-trust, which gives you this feeling of safety and puts you in the present, which is what you need. You need to be outside your head. You need to be in the present in order to gain perspective. Because even gaining perspective, if you come over here, right, and I help you to be in the present by going through a session and guiding you, making you feel safe and this and that, and then give you perspective by making you imagine whether you are your own version that can solve all your problems, or whether you are a child in a remote village and such. When you go back outside the door and get back inside your head, if you don't know how to help yourself, or how for you to get into that mindset by yourself, then even though you might have gone through an experience that has given you some kind of understanding, you might just use it to beat yourself up or start labeling or judging yourself again. Like, oh, it seems I can't even, gain perspective. Even afterwards, it seems I'm still, struggling or whatever. And that is why being able to start trusting and believing in yourself is essential. It is an essential component in order to be able to feel safe in the present. And here it comes. Because this is much easier said than done. Because some people don't even want to help themselves. I bet there's actually quite some people right now watching the stream don't really feel like helping themselves. Because when you don't help yourself and you don't trust yourself, then you can just put your responsibility on others. Why would you need to be responsible if you can just push away your responsibility to others? Because if you are the one that is in control of your own life, you got to take care of yourself. And that is for some people a very scary thought. And the idea of just letting others taking care of it can be quite a relief, and even further so, can be conditioned to such an extent that you will actually behave and try to direct it in such a way by being the victim or whatever. And you have this entire mechanic that works at this moment and that you can get away with, even though when you zoom out and you look at your life from a bit of more perspective, it's a very non-consistent way of going about life. And that's a big issue, because when you are in a situation where you don't even want to help yourself, then the only thing that can make you realize that is a reality check. It's really like being confronted with the reality where you cannot just push away your responsibilities, where you're confronted by the consequences of your actions in your face. And that's why this no excuses and responsibility resonates with quite some people, because a lot of people are aware of this mechanic, of this relationship where what they want is provided by others. And the best way of keeping it that way is getting your confidence out of what other people think of you. But at the same time, it goes hand in hand with a very much lack of self-worth. You just question yourself, you doubt yourself, but you don't mind so much because you can get what you want by offloading, outsourcing it to the people around you. But the thing is though, like, it is not a stable way of going about it. It's not really truly growing up. When you grow up from a child to more an adult, you want to take responsibility. You have to take responsibility because your actions have consequences. So some people do need reality checks. I'm fully aware of that. But there's also other people that are watching the stream that are more wanting to help themselves and want to understand how to do so. What I'm going to tell you guys right now can be extremely helpful. And it's basically, you got to wonder what it is that gives you confidence. What is it that you get confidence out? And it's really depending from person to person. For some people, it's understanding. For some people, it's the people around them. For some people, it is love. You have many different things that you can get confidence out. And depending on the person, realizing that what you get confidence out is there in abundance can literally create a paradigm shift where you truly feel safe and where your self-worth issues dissolve. Because low self-esteem and low self-worth is a result of a lack of trust, a lack of confidence in yourself. But if you understand that what you get confidence out is there in abundance, it's like a catharsis. And when it comes down to, for example, understanding, if you want to understand things, what can cause a catharsis is to understand that everything can be understood. And that the fear and the doubt you experience is merely a lack of understanding. But there is an answer to everything, a logical one that you can figure out through reason. And then rather than being in fear or having a lack of self-worth or whatever, you try and understand and are curious. And that's what children have. They really try to understand the world. But even further so, it is about aligning what you get confidence out with reality. Because if you, for example, are a pretty girl and you get all your confidence out of your looks because your looks allow you to get what you want, then this is basically an alley you don't want to be into, because you will never really truly be able to trust yourself, because the only trust and confidence you gain is because you're a pretty girl. And as a result, as you grow older and such, you really have to go through quite some existential identity crises, because you will see that fade away. But the thing is though, like when, for example, your confidence is out of beauty, then you can wonder, why is that? Why do you get your confidence out of your beauty? Because you think it's what works, obviously, as you grew up. but it's also because you think everything else didn't work out so well. And being able to express yourself, that confidence, and it depends from person to person in a way that is more aligned with reality. When it's about beauty, understand that everybody's beautiful, for example, for who they are on an essential level. I'm just giving a simple example. Understanding that no matter how much you grow up or whatever, the beauty is about loving yourself. You can actually align yourself, like basically channel the confidence from that perspective, which is much more consistent. And then instead of going about what you want based on what you've been conditioned to do, you can go about what you want based on increasing that confidence. Because if you align what you want with what you're confident about, then you create a feedback loop where you just become more and more confident. And as you do so, you gain more trust in yourself and you can be more in the present, which will make you more happy and everything, obviously. But then you're also in the best state once you're in your present of having clear-mindedness and using your more cognitive abilities to gain perspective and really grow your awareness. But of course, you need to first be outside your head, and that requires you to feel safe with who you are and trusting yourself. And the thing is, I know this is quite a lot of information. I think people can relate to it. But the thing is, though, what I realize is that guided sessions and talking to people and just having one-on-one talks can help people a lot more than these real talks. Because when I do these real talks and I explain the dynamics, a lot of it is perceived through your own perspective and maybe misinterpreted through bias. Everybody has quite some bias. And the way you overcome bias is by not being inside your head. The way you overcome by not being inside your head is by feeling safe, by not having this scarcity mindset. How do you get out of your scarcity mindset? It's by trusting yourself, by believing in yourself. How do you trust in yourself? How do you believe in yourself? By really gaining confidence or getting confidence from what you believe you can get confidence. How do you do that? By really thinking about it and basically expanding your understanding in what gives you confidence, and understand that it's in abundance, that it's there in abundance. If you understand that understanding is in abundance, then you don't experience as much fear. If you understand that beauty is in abundance or love is in abundance, then you don't experience these things as much, and you can get there through meditation, self-reflection, and basically then you have a gateway to feel safe and to not feel bad about yourself, where you are able to be in the present. But the thing is, though, there is a relationship between what gives you confidence and what you want. And if you align what makes you confident with reality, then what you want can be the confidence. People want to be confident. People want to get even more confident and trust even more into themselves. So this relationship will help you a lot more than the compromise of life that you're living. Even if you feel like what you want is being satisfied, wanting to be even more confident and rely on yourself is so much more satisfying. Imagine if you can just fully, truly trust yourself and rely on yourself at any given moment, where you can help yourself and find the answers yourself. And you might even not believe that you are able or capable of doing that, but imagine if you are. And this process really gives you the tools to do so and can really help you grow so much more, because it is what you are. Pharaoh says, I don't know it makes sense, but I feel like you need to force yourself to be confident in yourself at first. Pharaoh, I don't know if that has to be the case. The question you have to ask yourself is, what do you gain confidence out of? What is it that gives you confidence? Because that's what you should reflect on. That's what you should realize is in abundance, but it's not always as easy though. Is it good to force myself into uncomfortable situations so I have bad experiences? Well, it depends. It's very hard to generalize, because if I didn't answer this question from my own perspective, I might miss out on a lot of information. I would generally say what you say. I would not put myself in bad experiences, but maybe the way you mean bad experiences is something that I would see as challenges that are good. Maybe going to college is putting yourself in a bad experience or whatever, like I don't know. So when it comes down to advice, the best advice I can try and give you is the one that allows you to help yourself. But yeah, it depends from person to person. When I explain all these patterns and these insights, I do know that a more personal approach would be much more effective than just these talks. Did your opinion about uni change with these new insights? Wanted? Well, when it comes down to university, it really depends from person to person. Being in this environment is something that is very, very enriching experience for some people. If you're in a position where you really want to do good and you're already quite familiar with a lot of the stuff I talk about in the Real Talk, then this place is amazing. But if you come from a much more scarcity mindset, then being able to grow and get into a position where you can help yourself and such can be much more enriching for you. So while before I would say university is really stupid, it's stupid if you'd be me, but if you'd be me, you wouldn't go to university to begin with. But for some people, university can be enriching. So you just cannot generalize, that's all. And even though that this is something that I knew also before, the difference with before is that I was more so imposing my way of looking at things because I said like, yeah, but you have the knowledge now that it is stupid, therefore why would you even do it? It's like if you know that there is a trap, then why would you go and walk inside that trap? But the problem is that that's not how life works, because if you're much more experience oriented, then sometimes it is exactly that journey that can arise your awareness to a point where you have a better understanding of yourself, even more so than being here. A lot of the Real Talk was me just trying to explain it from my perspective, while when I start taking your perspective and I'm not inside my head, I start seeing that every single person has a different way of going about life and has just a way to achieve it more effectively when they go about it in a way that they can relate to it based on their own experiences in their own life. And not judging yourself and accepting yourself and trusting yourself are essential components in order to grow as a person. And when I come here and I use my achievements and my successes to crush your self-worth or to crush any trust you have in yourself, then what I'm doing is I'm going about it in a way that is just less effective, less impactful than one where I try to empower you guys to believe more in yourself and go about it in a way that is not going against itself, because that's what it is at the end of the day. If you can find a way where what gives you confidence and what you want is aligned and matches with reality, you will get there by yourself. Then all these insights in the Real Talk and such become much more things that come up automatically as you go through life and realize all these things. And I also say always like, think for yourself, think for yourself, think for yourself. But I know that thinking for yourself is a symptom. It's not even the cause. If you don't trust yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have any confidence in yourself, then how can you think for yourself? You let other people do the thinking for you because you think you can't do it. And that is why that rather than telling you guys, think for yourself, here's the data, here's the insights, go, think for yourself. It's more like put yourself in a situation where you start with actually trusting yourself and believing yourself and loving yourself. And then from there on, you are in a position where you can feel safe for yourself. And you'll be in a much better position to be in the present, and as a result, think for yourself. It will just come naturally. But of course, it always depends on where people are. When it comes down to awareness-wise, it's not something you can impose. It's not something you can judge people with. Dr. Steven says, like, I appreciate what you do, Athene, even though I act otherwise. But the thing is, though, it's important to be fine with what you do. And you might say, like, yeah, but I'm really, like, let's say you're a smoker and you eat meat and you have all these bad habits. Judging yourself, saying like, I'm doing all these things and I know it's wrong, is not helping you. The key to change is not by judging yourself and forcing yourself and pushing yourself. No, you gotta accept yourself and you gotta on a fundamental level, find confidence in who you are, trust yourself. Because then you will be in a position where you can start taking true responsibility for who you are. But as long as you doubt yourself and you don't trust yourself, then it's normal you behave the way you do. And then you might say like, oh, that's a nice excuse, right? But the thing is though, like, you don't want it to get to a point where you get a reality check to start questioning and growing up. You can help yourself without it coming to a point where you have to face the consequences of your actions, where you cannot run away from the consequences of your actions. And putting the effort in trying to, or not just putting the effort, just realizing that you can truly find safety in yourself and you can trust yourself. If you know that that's possible, then I do think that most people would want that more than anything else. Edin Jada Dick says, sorry, but I can't really sympathize with strangers from the other side of the world. No matter how hard I try, blame the evolution. But the thing is, Edin, you don't have to sympathize with people on the other side of the world. You have to first truly trust yourself and have confidence in yourself, because that's how you gain safety and you start living in the present. Because the reason why you cannot is not because you can't, but it's because you're inside your head. And the reason why you're inside your head is because you have this scarcity mindset. You got to get out of your scarcity mindset. And that's not something you have to judge yourself. It's not like it's wrong because you're in the scarcity mindset. Don't use these concepts to feed this low self-worth, because that's what we have tendency to do. But rather realize that you can believe in yourself and you can get true confidence out of yourself and trust yourself. And doing so really brings you into the present, into the now. And from there on, you can gain perspective and sympathize with people on the other side of the world. Temptation says, why do you keep contradicting all the time with what you said in the past? It's not a contradiction. I've already said it also in the past. When Newton came with gravity, Einstein didn't contradict Newton. He improved Newton. And what I do with my insights is I improve them all the time. Being aligned with reality and using understanding and all these things are insights that are very helpful for quite some people, but they require a certain level of awareness. And it's about trying to rewind to where it starts. What is the essence? What is the core? And when you think about it, it is quite emotional state. I mean, we've all been children, and when we're children, we don't even have all these advanced concepts. We just are emotional beings, and when we go through life, we really get conditioned to have this belief system we mainly adopt, and we even pursue to the point where it becomes who we are right now. And being able to understand these emotions and understanding the dynamics and the synergy through meditation and such can really elevate a lot of people's awareness to a point where they have an easier time to use their more rational capacities. But talking about rational capacities and such and logic, it is just something that comes naturally once you are emotionally more calibrated. And when you focus on that, you actually can existentially traumatize people on a fundamental level. If you try to go to a child and teach them advanced algebra when they don't even know how to add up, and you really yell at the kid to learn calculus because it's simple for you, it's not simple for the child. And the child just gets traumatized, starts thinking it's its own fault and judge himself. So coming to your inner child and understanding how to overcome and understand these emotions and such, and trusting yourself and having confidence is quite an essential component for you to grow to an awareness where you can be more, stable and consistent. And that is why what I'm saying is not contradicting what I said previously, because even these things that I'm talking about now were present in the past. I talked already about self-love, about confidence and all these things, but the problem is I skipped them because I didn't get fast enough results, because it didn't seem to work, because the people that applied or whatever were not good enough. And the thing is that that's not a bad on your end, it's a bad on my end, because if I truly want to help people to become their own creator and be their own independent thinkers, then I need to nourish them all the way. I can't just drop them the practicality bomb of having productive lifestyle and change the world while they skip everything else. And that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to find shortcuts my entire life, but I do think that nourishment and emotional stability and having confidence and trusting yourself are very important components. And being able to align what gives you confidence with reality and thereafter making it what you want creates literally a feedback loop that makes you more and more able to be in the present. And then from there on, you can start gaining perspective and thinking more rational and stuff. But until then, you will be trapped in scarcity. You will be inside your head. You won't even be able to have the ability to have perspective because it's so alienating. So it's just about making the right steps for people to actualize or develop, and not judging people that are behind. Of course, that doesn't mean that you can be in a situation where you go like, oh yeah, so I can do whatever the fuck I want because I'm still childish or whatever. We gotta grow up. We gotta all grow up. And we have to face the consequences of our actions, and we have to, become responsible. Sooner or later, we have to do it. But also, it's not so bad. It's not so a big deal. It's just can look very threatening, but that's mainly because you don't have this confidence in yourself. And that is why growing that can really greatly help you to get your life to be more stable. When did you start trust yourself, and what was the turning point? I started trusting myself when I was 9 years old, 10 years old, because I got so much love from my mother. And very early on, I had a lot of discussions with my brother about the world, about the universe, and a friend. So very early on, I had quite a reasonable framework. And then I started talking to people, and I really started outperforming people in reality with my understanding in school, with my friends, in debates. And I got so much confidence out of that. It's insane. And early on, I really used it also to feed on it. I gained a lot of validation from being right. But as I grew older, when I was 14, 15, I realized that's not about it. It's not about being right. It's about having an impact. And that's when I started focusing more on impact. And when I focused more on impact, I was like, it's about changing awareness. So when I was young, I talked a lot to people, to my friends. Friends were really important to me, also to my family, but it was harder. And I tried to help them grow their awareness, but it didn't work. So then I started just compromising by, I started working together with a very small amount of people. I also tried to find like-minded people in politics, in activism groups, but people were so behind when it comes down to having this perspective view on life. I also had a moment where I used a lot of perspective in my life, where I had this awareness about a version of me in Auschwitz that got me a lot of willpower because I realized that I could be better, could do better. But then I started working with Ian and Dean and Reese. We worked on projects, and then Dean and Ian left. Reese was still there, but he was quite confused. Put a lot of time in trying to help him, but it was easier with Reese because he had this drive to change, to help himself. Finding people that want to help themselves is already quite rare. Most people just want to live the life they live because it's easier. But the thing is, that sense of easiness does not come from reality. It comes from a lack of self-worth. They just think they can't provide it for themselves, but it's so much more satisfying to be able to fall back on yourself. It is that relationship that made me do what I did. And then I started doing Real Talk, more people started coming over. And when you look at the Real Talk, a lot of the insights, they come back, but it's really trying to find out what is it that works really well. But what I start realizing more and more is that I've been also quite stuck in my own head. The way I looked at things, the way I approach things. But with time, I've become more and more aligned with reality and try to see things from other people's perspectives, even more so than before. And it really helps me, although it's still a way to find out what are the best ways, the best methods, because everybody's so different. Everybody has their own experience in life. I'm just trying to find what is it that is similar, and doing so helps me to come up with ideas and tips that might help you guys more. By the way, before, there's another insight that is quite powerful, and that is that before, when I was reading comments and when you guys were saying stuff like, Athene, you're shit and this and that, honestly, there was a part of me that was quite frustrated. I really experienced a sense of, man, this is not right. I mean, this is factually incorrect. And this is also a very powerful insight. This is for all the people that really value the truth quite a bit. We have this gut reaction. When you gain more perspective and you see the world for what it is, you really have this idea everybody lives in this world. If someone says something that is not true, I have this urge to say that I'm right. And, well, not I'm right, but that it's just wrong and they should. Not even about you being right. It's just pointing out the fact and say hey man, what you're saying is not true. But realizing that that is only a result of you being inside your own head and actually projecting your own perspective on the other person. And doing so is actually going against what you even think, which is following reality for what it is so liberating. So now when I read the chat, right, I don't get triggered anymore. Because I understand that if I get triggered, it's because I'm inside my head. I've become immune to the hate and the cancer in the chat. When I see these things where people say but man, this or that, I'm fine. I accept you guys. I accept you guys for who you are. I understand that I would do exactly the same thing if I was you guys. I would also be spamming the chat and say the stuff you say. And the only thing I can do is just show understanding and try and help where I can. But not judge you guys. I like all of you guys. I'm back in the love state, I love all of you guys. I know the internet is a cancerous place and Twitch can be really cancer. But I think, overall, love can overcome it through understanding. I'm going to be much more chill from now on. That's something I learned from the entire situation. Either way, keep it up. And I would like to also mention for the people that want to come over and have a bigger impact, you guys feel free to come over. You guys can apply. And basically what we do here is we focus on having the biggest impact. Although I will say right now already that what I'm also going to try to do is see how I can help people grow their awareness. But I will already focus on the people that are already here. But if we manage to get some working mechanism and things that work, the place will be open for a lot more people. But for now, we're focusing on people that really want to have a huge impact and are not so much struggling with themselves. But when you struggle with yourself, that doesn't mean you're not welcome. It just means that we're not ready yet for that. That's all. But my goal is to help everyone, all of you guys in the chat, and it's to be open for everyone. One day, if I figure out how I can go about it properly, that's my goal, because we're all in this together. I really hope you guys understand that all of you guys have amazing potential. You guys can achieve so much. There's nothing wrong with you. You just need to grow. That's all. And whatever you have that you get confidence out, you can gain more understanding in that. And it can expand your awareness and your ability to do whatever you want. So much more. And I'm not going to tell you guys what is the right thing or the wrong thing. You guys will figure that out yourself. But I'll be more here having these talks and having these streams to try and help all of you guys. And I'm not going to be anymore like shooting you guys down from my perspective. Even with my achievements and my insights and stuff, I should be more understanding and more coming from an angle where I try to help and grow awareness from your world rather than trying to impose mine. That's something I learned.
Subscribe to youtube.com/AtheneWins. Watch the live stream at twitch.tv/AtheneLive and follow The Real Athene on Snapchat.